There's this split second so fast most people don't even realize it's a decision when someone calls you out. Maybe they question your character, challenge your motives, or throw shade on who you are. And right there, most people do what they've been taught since they were kids. They defend themselves. I didn't mean it like that. You misunderstood me. I swear I'm not that kind of person. It sounds reasonable. It even feels noble, like you're just trying to clear the air. But in the world of power, Machiavelli would tell you the moment you defend, you've already lost. Why? Because defending yourself is a signal. It tells the world you feel the need to explain. And if you need to explain, maybe you've got something to hide. In the power game, perception is everything. The second you flinch, people don't see an innocent person, they see weakness. They smell blood. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that the man who defends himself lowers himself. But the one who stays silent, he flips the script. He makes the world wonder, second guess, defend him. And that's where power starts. Let's make something clear. Defending yourself doesn't usually convince anyone. All it really does is shift the power away from you. Why? Because when you start explaining yourself, you're stepping into their frame. You're playing their game by their rules. And even if you're right, you still lose. Because now you look reactive. And in high-level games, only the insecure rush to explain. The strong, they let the silence burn. They let the accusation hang in the air untouched. Why? Because they know the real move isn't fighting it, it's flipping it. You turn their accusation into a mirror. Make them look too emotional. Make them look unstable. Make them feel like the one who's spiraling. The one who speaks first usually loses the frame. And Machiavelli knew whoever owns the frame owns the outcome. Here's the trap most people fall into. They want to be understood. They think, if I just explain it right, repeat it clearly, people will get me. But that urge doesn't come from power. It comes from emotional fragility. That's not strategy, it's desperation. The truth. You don't need clarity, you need control. Clarity is for therapy, control is for power. Power doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being feared, respected, and unreachable. So next time someone says you're arrogant or you're cold and you instinctively want to say, no, that's not true, catch yourself. Because the second you respond like that, you've already handed them control. Now you're on their stage reading lines from their script. And the most valuable thing you just gave up mystery. Think about the most powerful people you've met. Not the loudest, not the most agreeable. The ones who sat still, let the tension build, made you squirm with just a look. They didn't defend. They didn't explain. They made you wonder. That's power. Machiavelli would say, he who explains submits, but he who holds silence, he makes others overestimate him. He becomes the story, the question, the force no one can pin down. And when you don't react, that's when they unravel. They start doubting what they said, looking for validation, repeating themselves. You stay calm, they start sinking. And just like that, the power shifts. That's how you flip the game. Now let's take this deeper. You walk into a room, maybe it's a meeting, a dinner, some social setting, and someone throws a jab, maybe subtle, maybe direct. A snide comment about your success, your past, your attitude. Everyone hears it. All eyes swing toward you. What do most people do? They react. They defend. Maybe with a nervous laugh, a quick explanation, or a half-hearted comeback. But the Machiavellian, he does something different. He does nothing. No defense, no smirk, no change in posture, just total calm, stillness. And that silence. That's when the room shifts. Suddenly, people aren't watching the person who threw the shade, they're watching you. They're thinking, why didn't he respond? Did he not feel it? Or is he just above it? Now you've flipped the frame. You've made the attacker look small, emotional, desperate for a reaction. Silence, when delivered with confidence, says more than words ever could. And Machiavelli knew this wasn't just about politics, it was about psychology. Real power doesn't lie in what you say. It lies in what you could say, but choose not to. Here's the coldest move of all. Not only do you ignore the accusation, you invert it. Let's say someone calls you manipulative. You don't react, you don't argue, you just give them a neutral look and calmly say, if that's how you see it, that's it, nothing more. What happens? They fall apart. They expected you to fight, to plead, to try to convince them they were wrong, but instead they're left holding their own accusation, awkward, heavy, and embarrassing. Now they look like the one who's insecure, and they feel it. Because you didn't take the bait, you let them swing and miss. There's a moment where silence becomes unbearable, but not for you, for them. They start spinning. They wonder if they went too far, if they look petty, and often they do. You just turn their attack into their own public collapse without lifting a finger. Machiavelli knew words don't clarify truth, they hide it. And when someone comes at you, whether subtle or loud, they want you to drown in explanations. They want you emotional, because the more you explain, the less certain you look. But if you say nothing, they keep talking. They repeat themselves. They start to sound desperate. While you're still. And the crowd, they're not listening to what's being said. They're watching who's rattled and who's not. That's power. Now imagine you're in a business setting, a high-stakes meeting. Someone subtly challenges your idea, says something like, I don't know if this strategy's fully thought through, or he's always got these bold ideas, right? They want you to flinch, to justify, to explain. What does the average person do? They lean forward, they get defensive, they clarify. But the Machiavellian, he leans back, maybe even smiles. He waits. And if he speaks, it's not to defend, it's to redirect. Interesting, let's hear your strategy then. Now the spotlight flips. The attacker has to perform. Suddenly they're under pressure, because silence from someone confident doesn't feel neutral, it feels like an unspoken accusation. It says you're not worth my energy. And in relationships, this dynamic is even more powerful. Imagine your partner says, you don't care about me anymore. The usual instinct is to panic, to launch into defense, to reassure, but that just validates their emotional frame. The Machiavellian approach. Don't argue. Don't dismiss. Let the accusation hang in the air. Feel the weight of it. Then calmly respond, that's not how I see it. No explanation, no extra emotion, just centered, unshaken truth. Now the emotional tempo is yours. And in every interaction, the one who controls the tempo controls the power. Here's where it gets surgical. Let's say someone insults you online in person, doesn't matter. Instead of replying, you do something colder. You vanish. No clapback, no response, no energy given. But you also don't block them. You let your silence echo. This hits on two levels. First, they realize you didn't even see them as worth engaging. Second, they start spinning stories in their head, and that's what breaks them their own mind. They start obsessing, posting more, whispering to others, fishing for a reaction. But every time they reach, they look more unhinged. Meanwhile, you're still silent, unbothered. That's when you win, not because you destroyed them, but because they destroyed themselves trying to get to you. Now here's the next level. Don't just ignore the jab, flip it into a weakness on their part. Someone calls you arrogant. Strange how confidence makes people uncomfortable. They call you manipulative. Only people who can't be influenced say that. They call you fake. Everyone says that once they stop getting what they want. You're not denying it. You're not defending. You're reframing their accusation as their insecurity. And now they're the ones scrambling to explain themselves. It's not just a reversal, it's a psychological throw. A full judo move with emotion as the weapon. Machiavelli called it the turn of the blade. Don't meet the sword with a shield. Let the attacker fall on their own steel. See, the world teaches you to defend your name, clear the air, set the record straight. But Machiavelli knew that once you chase innocence, you're already playing from behind. The real strategist. He doesn't explain. He doesn't defend. He projects one message: I don't need to justify myself to you. And here's the twist. The more you ignore your critics, the more dangerous they assume you are. Because no reaction creates tension, doubt, imagination, and nothing spreads like mystery Let's say you're at a dinner. Someone throws a jab in front of the group. He always acts like he knows everything. Most people try to laugh it off or explain. But the Machiavellian, he pauses, just holds silence. 2 seconds. Then scans the room. No aggression, just calm amusement. And maybe he says, interesting take, or nothing at all. Just holds eye contact. Now watch what happens. The attacker fidgets, looks around for backup, starts explaining their own joke, because your lack of reaction turned the tables. Now they're under scrutiny. And online, same rules. People will throw bait in comments, posts, DMs, trying to get you to react. Machiavelli would tell you in the digital world, silence looks like guilt unless your silence radiates control. So here's the play. Don't explain. Distort. Don't fight the claim. Reframe it. Someone says you're toxic. You post people always call you dangerous when they can't control you. You didn't defend yourself. You redirected the energy. And now they look bitter. You look unfazed. The crowd doesn't care about truth, they care about presence, and you just asserted yours. There are only 3 tools you need. Silence, the most powerful. Default to it. Deflection. Shift the narrative, never acknowledge the jab. Precision cuts. Short, sharp lines that end the game. Examples. You're full of yourself. Confidence upsets the insecure. You're fake. I don't owe you authenticity. You think you're better than everyone. No, I just think differently. These aren't comebacks. They're status markers. They don't say, please believe me. They say you can't touch me. And that's what makes the Machiavellian untouchable. He doesn't beg to be seen as good. He lets the world call him dangerous and walks taller for it. Because once you stop defending yourself, you become the one thing no one can control. A force, an aura, an echo they can't silence. And that is power.